All right, so we are moving on to the volume of cones. And in this lesson, I'm going to be going over how to find the volume of a cone using the formula and how to find missing dimensions using that formula. So let's start by reviewing how to find the volume of a cylinder. So we know that the formula for the volume of a cylinder is volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. And just as a reminder, the base of any cylinder is actually a circle. And since the base is a circle with a radius, we know that this formula can also be translated to volume equals pi times the radius squared times the height, because pi r squared is the area of a circle. So what's cool about a cone is it's not too far off. We know that cones have circular bases too. And if you look at the dimensions of the cone compared to the cylinder, the cone only has one base, whereas the cylinder has two, which is going to naturally decrease the volume. So here's the radius and the height in a cone. So the volume of a cone is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder with the same dimensions. So volume equals 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. Again, r is the radius of the circular base, and h is the height of the cone. So theoretically, let's say we have a cone and a cylinder with the same base. So let's say they have the same radius. The radius, let's call it 3 feet. And let's call the height of both figures, let's call it 10 feet. What's really cool is it will take 3 cones worth of volume to fill up this exact same cylinder with the same dimensions. The volume of a cone is 1/3 the volume of the cylinder. So let's try out using this formula. Again, volume equals 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times height. And we are going to use 3.14 for pi, just as a reminder. So on the left, we have a cone with a height of 16 centimeters and a diameter of 15 centimeters. So since we're working with the diameter, let's quickly find the radius. The radius of this circle is half of the diameter, so 15 divided by 2, and that's going to be 7.5. So let's fill in our volume formula. So using 3.14 for pi, the volume is equal to 1/3 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 7.5 squared, times the height, which is 16. And when we multiply all this together, we get 942 cubic centimeters. If you're having trouble multiplying by 1/3, an alternate way of calculating this is divide by 3. So when we see 1/3, we are multiplied by 1/3. Or just divide the product of the rest of the numbers by 3. or divide by 3. Let's try another one. So in this cone, I am seeing, even though it's turned over, I am seeing that the height of the cone from the base to the tallest point of the cone is 3 feet. And the radius of the base of the cone is 2 feet. And I'm just rewriting my volume formula again. When you're practicing things like this, it does help to write that volume formula so that you get it in your memory a little bit easier. So 1/3 times 3.14 times the radius 2 squared times the height of 3. And so when I multiply all of these together, usually when I calculate this, I will multiply these numbers first and then divide by 3. Or you can just multiply by the fraction 1/3. But either way, the volume is going to be 12.56 cubic feet. So let's try one without a diagram. The cone has a diameter of 6 centimeters and a height of 11.5 centimeters. So we are going to try and find the volume. So since we're working with diameter again, if the diameter is 6, the radius is half of that. The radius is going to be 3 centimeters. So let's fill in our volume formula. Volume equals 1/3 times pi r squared h. And so we have 1/3 times 3.14 times 3 squared times 11.5. And when multiplied, the volume of this cone is 108.33 cubic centimeters. So let's try one where we have a missing dimension. We're given the height and the volume of this cone, and we are asked to find the radius. We're asked to find r in our volume formula. So given that our volume formula is 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height, and we are missing, we're not missing the height, we're missing the radius. Pardon me. We're missing the radius. Let's fill in what we know. So the volume in this cone is 100.48 inches cubed. So 100.48 is equal to 1/3 times 3.14 times the radius squared times the height, which is 6. So let's go through, since we need to solve for r, the first thing I would do is multiply all of the terms we can. So that means we are going to be multiplying 1/3, 3.14, and 6 together. And when you multiply 1/3 by 3.14 and 6, you get a product of 6.28. So 6.28 times r squared is equal to 100.48. So now we're trying to get r by itself. So that means we need to divide both sides of our equation by 6.28. And this cancels out. So we're left with r squared is equal to 16. And so now we need to take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of r squared, you just get r. And when you take the square root of 16, and we're finding the positive square root of 16, this is 4. So the radius of this cone is 4 inches. 4 inches. To verify this answer, you could take the volume formula and plug in everything you know. So 100.48 is equal to 1/3 times 3.14 times 4 squared times 11.5. And so when you verify this, you want to make sure that the left side of your volume formula ends up equaling the right side. And that's how you know you found the radius correctly. So that was it. That was how to find the volume of a cone. So the volume of any cone with radius r is 1/3 the area of its base times the height, or 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. And remember that the volume of a cone and the volume of a cylinder with the same radius and height have similar dimensions. The volume of that cone is 1/3 the area of that cylinder. Thanks for watching and have a great day.